Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a LEGO city regardless of the space you have. In this video, we're going to have a look at the Hogwarts Clock Tower set 75948. This is part of the Harry Potter series, and you can connect this build to the Whomping Willow as well as the Great Hall to create a wide display. This is a pretty nice build, which is why I bought it, but my main intention to buy it was not because I'm a big Harry Potter fan and I wanted this particular set because it reminded me of the book or the movies, but was because I saw the potential to reMOC this into a church. But more on this later. Let's first have a look at the set, and I'd like to point out some design features which I think are pretty interesting and worth your time and attention. Let's start off with the front. The overall feel reminded me of the Helm's Deep Lord of the Rings set, which also had some kind of an entrance and then this curved portion of the wall over here. Take note, this build is really just a front facade. There's absolutely no sense of a complete building, and this is really the best angle that it looks, at least from the point of view of looking at an exterior building. Unlike the creator building sets, which are at least just open backed, meaning they do have some dimension from the front and the sides, this is really just the front. Sure, there is a bit of depth, but really, it's really just a tiny bit, and there is a curvature, but there's nothing more than that. So just bear this in mind if you intend to buy this. Like the Great Hall, like the Whomping Willow, they're just facades. So if you're to put all of them on a shelf and you're a Harry Potter fan, I think you enjoy this. But if you're thinking of incorporating this into your LEGO city as a complete building, then you might be disappointed. Like the Helm's Deep, a lot of these parts are actually panel pieces and columns, not individual bricks. You do get a few different colored bricks such as the grey bricks and the medium orange masonry bricks just to break up the look, but a lot of these are panel pieces as mentioned, so big blocks. And you see these distress bricks over here, those are just stickers. This is made out of 3 sections held together by Technic pins, and that's how you get that curved look. And I guess the main feature of this build would be this main front over here. This is the clock tower. After all, it is named the clock tower, and I do appreciate the ornate look of this front. Lots of different angles. They use a lot of sloped bricks. There's a lot of relief in terms of a 3D texture build, and you get a lot of that netted windows. So overall, everything works well together. The clock tower itself is pretty interesting, not just for that printed dish over there, but the hands of the clock. They are made from minifig accessory tools. I believe those are ratchets, so it's pretty cool. And you can actually turn a gear behind to make the hands move. There's also a decorated printed dish over here. And overall, I think the color scheme works to give it that old school feel. The light tan with the dark gray and the medium orange bricks do work together, which is also what attracted me to this set. But then again, the other compatible sets such as the Great Hall also feature the same color scheme. Here's a look at the back. It's really this open style dollhouse concept, although it's really open. It reminds me of some of the Disney castle sets. Really bare bones in terms of a building, and you get different play features along with different scenes that you can set up. Here we've got the ballroom dance scene, and you can actually twirl this. So this is a pretty neat feature, the way they use the different rotating turntable plates to create this effect. So I do appreciate this design, and you get different scenes that you'd find in the book or the movies. If you're a fan of Harry Potter, you will recognize these scenes, or at least what they're supposed to symbolize. And by and large, I think there is quite good detail here. If you aren't a fan of the books or movies, aren't familiar with them, you probably won't appreciate this detail, and you just see this as detail for an old castle, or in this case it's a school. That's the gear I talked about, and it's right in the middle of, I guess this is supposed to be the dormitory, and you can just turn this crankshaft over here, and that would turn the hands of the clock on the other side. There are some loose small builds that come with this set. I think this table is actually pretty nice and ornate and will fit well in some kind of a classy restaurant, or if you want to do a grand banquet room for a hotel. So that's really nice. There is what looks like a Christmas tree, but I'm not very sure of the context. I don't remember there being a Christmas tree unless it is supposed to be Christmas. Maybe you can let me know in the comments below. One design feature I like to highlight, because I think it's really useful if you want to build your own MOCs, is how they created the slants for the roofs over here. So there's one slant over here and there's another slant almost perpendicular to it. And basically they're all plates attached to these modified clip pieces, or plates with clips. Let's see if I can open this up. And there are closed bar pieces here. And over here we've got another hinge piece. So the way they use cheese wedge pieces and plates to cover up the gaps works pretty well to create that angle, and they fit almost seamlessly. So that's a really good technique if you want to create slants in your builds. So that is my mini review of the set. It's not meant to be a full review. I'm sure you can find great reviews on YouTube for that. What I really wanted to discuss today was to see if this particular build can be reMOCed into a church, which was the reason I bought it in the first place. Now here's a mock of a church that I created some time ago. It's supposed to be an old church, or maybe you can consider it a chapel, and I'm really actually happy with this particular build. The design is very practical in terms of the size because of the footprint I wanted. It's a 16 by 32 stud base plate that this is built on, and it is pretty detailed, not just on the outside but the inside. Now it is detailed in terms of texture, but the overall shape and design is quite simple. I know it sounds a bit like an oxymoron, but I hope you know what I mean. If you want to see a review of this particular old church, you can check out the link in the card above or the description below. Now, because I saw this clock tower, I thought that this would look great as a church, or at least the front of this would look good as a church. Let me just give you a quick example. If I pull this off and maybe I take this cross and I put it up here. Of course I won't use white. I would use probably dark gray or maybe the light tan to create the cross. And I could keep the facade of this. Maybe I won't have two clocks. I could have one clock. This bell I might move over to my firehouse, which I'm about to build. So what do you think? Do you think there's potential for this to look like a much grander, older church? Because I think this would fit well in my LEGO city, specifically Brick Beach, which is a tourist town. Specifically Brick Beach, which is a tourist resort town, and I think a large old church will be a great tourist attraction. Gives it a bit of an old charm as well. Another reason is I feel that the white for this is just a bit too clean. That's why I try to add a lot of these other bricks and the masonry bricks just to create that older weathered look, but there is still a bit of a stark contrast. And honestly, I don't mind taking back all these parts so I can build other MOCs. So having something like that might be useful. Now the thing is, of course, this is really just the front of the church, and I realized that only after it was built. I didn't expect it really just to be so flat in that sense. This is really just the front part. If I were to compare it, it's really this part over here. I still need the whole body of the church, and that's why I now think that maybe I need to buy the Great Hall as well in order to fill up the back. And actually I was thinking I could kind of combine the main entrance of the Great Hall with this part of the tower to create a new front facade. The side of the Great Hall obviously would flow here, and I know what you might be thinking. The Great Hall itself is only a front facade as well. It's only one side. Now I could buy two sets, but I think that's just too much to spend on one particular MOC like that. So I've actually got an idea. First, I have to figure out the size of the church. In this case, I think the size of the church has to be at least 48 studs long. So I've got two base plates here. I've got a 32 by 32 and a 16 by 32. And if I can, I'll just move this on top. And of course, I won't even need this section over here, at least not in terms of this design. Of course, I will use the parts. And I could put this up somewhat like that. So this would be my front of the church. And I would take the rest of the Great Hall and I would build it, maybe not to the end, depends how long it ultimately will be, but I'll use most of it, and then I would have to take the column or the main tower and try to mock it over here to cover this up, because I do want to create a complete building. Or should I say, I'm going to cheat. I will create a complete building in the sense that it is designed to look like a complete building. But remember, I've only got that front facade to work with. So my idea is to assume that this particular church recently caught fire and part of it is damaged. That's why one side of it and part of the roof is still under construction. So I might actually have workers still trying to repair it and build, even though part of it might be open for the public as a tourist attraction. I think it's plausible. It is possible for a very old church to catch fire nowadays and burn down. So what do you think of that idea? If I do that, I just need one set of the Great Hall, and I could more or less use all those parts, including the remaining parts from the clock tower, to create this 3/4 of a complete church. So what do you think of this idea? Please let me know in the comments. Do you think it's worth the money, the effort to put it together? Or should I just stick to this small old church over here? So I would love to hear your feedback, and maybe that will guide me in the right direction to decide what I'm going to do. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Check out these two videos before you go.